Welcome back to Reds Fusion LFC, your home for everything Liverpool FC. Today's episode is absolutely explosive. Arne Slot drops major truth bombs, players breaking golden rules, dressing room doubts emerging, a 35-meter deal hanging by a thread, and a new signing forced to wait till January. Plus fresh injury updates before the Villa clash. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to stay updated with every twist and turn in the transfer window. Liverpool stars told they've broken golden rule amid doubt claims within Arne Slot's camp. Arne Slot is enduring his toughest period as Liverpool manager, with the club losing 6 of their last 7 matches across all competitions, and won. Premier League legend has analyzed his situation. Arne Slot has been warned that Liverpool players have broken a golden piece of advice in never losing a second game off the trot. The Dutchman excelled in his first season at Anfield, scooping the Premier League title last term. However, 2025-26 has proven a far different state of affairs. At the time of writing, the Reds languish at 7th in the league standings as a result of suffering 4 consecutive losses at the hands of Crystal Palace, Chelsea, Manchester United, and Brentford. The outlook in cup competitions, meanwhile, is also bleak, with Liverpool being ousted from the Carabao Cup on Wednesday evening in a 3-0 thrashing from Palace at Anfield. Many pundits backed Liverpool to have the strongest team overall this term, especially after a summer of spending on Merseyside, which saw the arrival of Hugo Ekitike, Florian Wirtz, and Alexander Isak. But for one reason or another, Liverpool are failing to provide on the pitch as of recent, with injuries and inconsistency plaguing Slot's camp. And as per Arsenal legend Nigel Winterburn, the squad now may be doubting themselves in a time they need to pull together to bounce back. Speaking exclusively to Mirror Football via casino.org, Winterburn said, "I think you'll find managers have got a belief in what they do, the way they want to play. We've seen that with Ruben Amorim at Man United. Slot's come off the back of winning a title with Liverpool, so I think people would say he deserves a lot of credit. I don't know. They brought some players in, and you would think should really strengthen the team. But it's as open, I think, as I've seen Liverpool for a long time. They look like they can concede goals, which I always think of Liverpool as quick, fast attacking, but fairly secure defensively, and they just seem to be way too open at the back now. I don't know whether that's a slight change in style of play. Obviously, Andy Robertson's come out of the team, and then also Trent Alexander-Arnold has moved on, and then they've brought in a couple of other players. It just feels as if things are not clicking, and there's a little bit of nervousness now around. Shouldn't need me to tell you when players lose confidence. It disappears pretty quickly, and it's hard to get back." Winterburn also pointed out that Liverpool have failed to adhere to a golden rule that he would always give to players and teams. He added, "That's why I always say to people, it's never okay to lose a game, but everybody loses a game. But what you don't want to do is lose a second game, and then the third game, and then the fourth game, because that drains the confidence of the players, as good as they are." Discussing the concern within the camp, Winterburn said, "It doesn't matter if they're internationals, we're all the same. When we start to lose games, we start to doubt what we're doing. And when that happens, there's no freedom. The pressure and the decision-making becomes a little bit blurry, and I think that's where Liverpool are at the moment. They've got a huge 2 or 3 weeks coming up. Maybe he doesn't want to change. He just needs to make sure the sections are more secure, particularly when they lose possession of the ball defensively. Maybe they're not as organized, or they don't recover as quick as they did last season. I'm sure they're stato guys and will be looking at everything. But just as somebody that's watching the game, I think at times they look to me as if you can get at the back four, and it doesn't matter how good your back four is. If you've got no protection in front of it, movement can absolutely destroy you. Liverpool now have the tough task of Aston Villa at home come Saturday evening in the league, before they host Real Madrid in the Champions League on Tuesday. They then return to Premier League action on Sunday, November 9th, to take on Manchester City at the Etihad Stadium. Florian Wirtz problem identified as Liverpool new signing told to wait until January. Liverpool attacking. Midfielder Florian Wirtz has struggled for form since 116 million transfer from Bayer Leverkusen in the summer. Liverpool have been told the arrival of Florian Wirtz has disrupted their midfield balance, but the 116 million cannot be blamed for the Reds' struggles. Arne Slot's side have lost 6 of their last 7 games in all competitions and already stand 7 points adrift of title favorites Arsenal in defense of their Premier League. Crowned Wirtz has had a tough start to life at Anfield since arriving from Bayer Leverkusen in the summer and has started only 2 of the last 5 Premier League matches heading into Saturday's visit of Aston Villa and former Liverpool. Man Joe Cole believes Wirtz would benefit from further time on the bench, although he accepts that may be a difficult call for Reds boss Slot. Yes, Florian Wirtz's signing has disrupted the Liverpool midfield, but not in a way that can be laid at Florian Wirtz's feet, said Cole. There's no doubt he's a top player. You don't play number 10 for Germany and win the league over in the Bundesliga and produce what he did at Bayer Leverkusen without being quality. We know he's quality, and he's shown it in flashes. Don't lay the blame on the 4 players coming in, or the 4 players coming out, or the manager. It's just a collection of everything. In hindsight, if Liverpool could do a restart of the season, they'd have probably put 1 or 2 players into the team and we'll keep with what we're doing and just gradually change it, and by January, you'll start looking to get Wirtz into the squad, into the team regularly, giving the time to come off the bench. It's all well saying that, but Slot trying to explain to the owners who just bought you a $100 million player while he's on the bench is going to be a difficult sell. It's a collection of about 3 or 4 different things. But Wirtz is a quality player. Speaking exclusively to Paddy Power, Cole added, whether he's the right player for Liverpool or the Premier League, he's going to have to prove that. He can't shy away from that. There are certain players, good players, who go to clubs and they just don't fit. And he's had a bad start, so the spotlight's on him, and he's going to have to go and, in the next year, prove that he's a Premier League footballer. The Reds follow the game, with Villa with another home clash on Tuesday when they welcome Real Madrid to Anfield in the Champions League. They then head to the Etihad to take on Manchester City in the Premier League on Sunday week. Before the latest international break, Arne Slot rules out 2 key Liverpool players for Aston Villa after confirming injury boost. Arne Slot has provided the Liverpool injury latest ahead of his side's Premier League match against Aston Villa at Anfield on Saturday night. Arne Slot has confirmed Alexander Isak and Curtis Jones are 99% out of Liverpool's Premier League clash against Aston Villa. But the Reds boss has revealed Ryan Gravenberch is back in training and has a chance of returning ahead of a major week in his team's season. Gravenberch has missed the last 3 games, having suffered a twisted ankle in the home defeat to Manchester United a fortnight. Ago Isak has been absent, having picked up a groin problem during the first half of the Champions League win at Eintracht Frankfurt 3 days later, while Jones limped off in the second half of last weekend's 3-2 Premier League loss at Brentford with a similar complaint. And while Slot doesn't expect to be with Isak and Jones on Saturday evening against Villa, he is increasingly confident Gravenberch could be involved. Speaking on Friday morning, he said, Ryan trained yesterday, Isak and Jones didn't yet. Timescale? I have said many times the end phase of the injury, things can go slower or faster. Let's wait and see where they are. Ryan trained yesterday and with us today, and we'll make the call if he can start. The other 2, 99.9% not in the squad. Hamstrung duo Alisson Becker and Jeremy Frimpong remain out, while defender Giovanni Leone is sidelined for the remainder of the season. After ACL surgery, Liverpool following the Villa game with a Champions League clash at home to Real Madrid on Tuesday before traveling to title contenders Manchester City on Sunday. Slot chose to make 10 changes when naming a hugely understrength team in Wednesday's 3-0 home League Cup 4th-round loss to Crystal Palace, with Mohamed Salah, Dominic Szoboszlai, Connor Bradley, Virgil van Dijk, Ibrahima Konate, Cody Gakpo, and Hugo Ekitike not in the matchday squad despite being available, but the Reds boss has dismissed suggestions his squad lacks depth. We have enough to play the games, but I have to take care of a few of them. Why I made the decision not to play 7 or 8, he said. I am happy with the team, the quality we have, and convinced by the strategy and policy we have. But that makes it the issue. Not all of them had a proper preseason or have been injured. So when 3 or 4 are injured, you go back to 15 or 16. I am convinced 20 is enough, but we are struggling to keep them fit for obvious reasons. Alex came to us. September word, and it has been harder to keep them fit. So if a few aren't available, it comes to the same players. Maybe last season we were lucky and now unlucky, but we've had a few away games with only a few days rest in between. No excuses before people say, we have to manage the situation, 3 games in 7 or 8 days. So nothing to do with squad depth, more just injuries and availability of players. Slot admits the squad isn't good enough. That's despite sporting director Richard Hughes lavishing the squad with 450 minutes worth of new talent over the summer transfer window, but that was to little avail against Palace, with the vast majority of the summer arrivals not even on the bench. Slot's complaining has not gone down well with one former Liverpool star in the shape of Stephen Warnock, who pinpoints the Dutchman's post-match comments as evidence that he is not happy with the changes made to the squad over the summer. Arne Slot has almost admitted there that the squad is not strong enough. The former Liverpool fullback said on BBC Radio 5 Live. Warnock, Arne Slot is making excuses. It was very much deflecting and making excuses. You're a team in the Champions League, yet you're moaning that you're playing a game 2 days later. You know that is going to happen. I felt there were a lot of excuses in there. You know your squad depth isn't the best. Then your business hasn't been good enough in the summer. Liverpool are indeed in the middle of an intense period of fixtures at home and abroad, necessitating changes. But Slot cannot call on title winners like Kawhimin Kelleher, Jarell Quansah, Harvey Elliott, Luis Diaz, or Darwin Núñez, with that contingent among those sold over the summer transfer period. The likes of Rio Ngumoha, Kieran Morrison, and Trey Neone have jumped up to become starters. While there was a makeshift look to the back four on Wednesday night too, Liverpool managed to get the players they wanted in last summer, but had to sacrifice their squad depth to do it. Slot knows it, and time will tell whether it will have a major impact in the Premier League and Champions League too. 35 million Traore's Liverpool deal could collapse. Elliott loan at Aston Villa raises performance question, but Liverpool keep door ajar deal structure signals. Liverpool's long-term view, Harvey Elliott's summer move to Aston Villa, was framed as a development play rather than a clean break. Villa secured the 22-year-old on loan with an obligation to buy valued at $35 million, with additional sell-on and buyback mechanisms designed to protect Liverpool's long-term interests. In plain terms, if Elliott flourishes, Liverpool retain a pathway to bring him back. If he doesn't, they still bank a fee that reflects his potential. Competition for the midfielder was real enough. RB Leipzig made a push, while West Ham and Fulham were sounded out earlier in the window. Elliott chose Villa Park in pursuit of regular minutes under Unai Emery, with the promise of a clearly defined role. From Liverpool's perspective, the move fits a familiar pattern. Secure value today, preserve optionality tomorrow. Elliott's 149 appearances and haul of domestic medals since 2019 underline why Liverpool insisted on a buyback. There is belief in his ceiling. Even if the immediate route to Anfield minutes narrowed, Emery's selection logic and Elliott's adaptation curve. The headline has inevitably been Elliott's limited involvement of late, prompting scrutiny over Emery's stance. The manager's explanation is detailed and consistent with his reputation for high tactical demands. I am being very, very demanding myself to choose in each match the player to start and the players on the bench and the subs players, he said. Firstly is always trying to get the best performance collectively, through individual players. In Emery's scheme, Elliott is viewed principally as a no 10. Harvey is a 10 number in our structure, and there is still adaptation to add himself individually in our structure, Emery added, noting the player's commitment in training while conceding that his performance was not enough up to this point. It is a frank assessment rather than a closing of the door. The crux is tactical fit and execution within a demanding positional framework. Competition in the no-10 lane at Villa Park. Elliott's challenge is magnified by the depth in his preferred lane. Emery name-checked Morgan Rogers, Emiliano Buendia, John McGinn, and Yuri Tielemans as viable options for the role, with Ross Barkley even operating there in late-game scenarios. That rotation underscores why Elliott has seen fewer minutes. Villa are well stocked with creators who interpret the space between the lines slightly differently, some offering more direct ball carrying, others greater off-ball control or set-piece value. For Elliott, the immediate task is to translate training well into match-defining sequences, clean final third actions, sharper pressing cues from the 10 space, and tempo control that meshes with Emery's collective principles. The manager's public line leaves room for progress. We will give him minutes and chances to play in case his development is going well. That is a challenge and an invitation. What comes next for Elliott and Liverpool short-term? Elliott is ineligible to face his parent club when Aston Villa travel to Anfield this weekend. That removes an emotional subplot, but not the wider question. If he strings together performances across winter, Liverpool's buyback becomes a live topic rather than an accounting footnote. If the form remains patchy, the obligation to buy still activates the $35 million package, leaving Villa to decide whether to lean into a longer adaptation or reprofile the role. Liverpool's calculation is straightforward, but nuanced. The club protected upside because Elliott has already shown composure, versatility, and resilience at a young age. If those traits resurface in a more central, high-touch role, the decision to ring-fence a return route will look prescient. For Villa, the incentive is equally clear. Convert potential into consistent output within Emery's structure and they acquire a premier. League-ready 10 with resale value engineered into the deal. There is frustration on Elliott's side, understandable, given the search for regular football. But the landscape can shift quickly. A run of minutes, an injury elsewhere in the squad, or a tactical tweak can reframe a season. For now, the message from Bodymore Heath is uncompromising. Meet exacting standards, earn the shirt, keep it. From Liverpool's vantage point, that pressure cooker is exactly the environment in which a buyback clause either becomes a smart trigger or never needs pulling.